Good afternoon. My name is Ned Lipman, and I am especially proud to be here today since I am a retiree as former director of the office that brings you this program this afternoon. I'm proud of the folks I hired that make the workforce development program run the way that it does, and I hope by the end of the day you have all found at least one good idea that will help you write a grant with my office that will fund you in all ways that are useful to you. If you haven't noticed, we really believe in the process, and the fact that we have a Department of Labor that is behaving the way it is probably one of the best kept secrets of all the states in the United States, because they don't all manage the workforce development monies the way this state does. So I've been a big fan of this process, and I am here this afternoon as a former director, now retired, to discuss one of my favorite subjects, building trust in the workplace. For me, the issue of trust begins and ends a successful organization's lifetime. So if we could just go through some slides here, we'll get started. One of my favorite authors, a guy by the name of John Maxwell, says better than I could ever say, your work will never rise above your ability to lead and influence, and you can't produce on a level higher than your leadership, so that your leadership skills determine the level of your success and the success of those who work around you. It's a real basic, important premise. If you haven't read any of Maxwell's books, I highly encourage you. He's a minister, and I'm not speaking spiritually. He talks about influence, becoming a person of influence. He has a series of books, one on boundaries of leaders. He just gets it. He's a really prolific writer. So one of my best associates, a fellow by the name of Jim Neary, the leprechaun with the Irish accent, and I heard he gets standing ovations, and I didn't even get an applause this morning. But he's talking about, thank you, Sharon, to do that afterwards. He's talking about emotional intelligence, and so much of what you do as technocrats is above the line. Plan, do, results, lessons learned. All hard skills. When we talk about leadership, we start with awareness, we move to trust, we get to Covey with listening to understand, and we talk about the integration of human capital to create useful experiences for your customers inside the organization and outside the organization. So what I'm talking about this afternoon starts with awareness. I'm going to do a little exercise here, which I hope will demonstrate that. So we talk about trust. For me, as a former director, the challenge for leaders is thinking that they have values and experiences that are superior to those around them, so that their sense of reality is a superior sense, which means they're not as open to some of the views of the people around them. They close off the best people they've hired, which doesn't engender trust. So we talk about all these individual paradigms. And if you don't think paradigms matter in the world today, you weren't watching Caitlyn Jenner, AKA Bruce. We all have these boxes in which we live that form our views of the workplace. And when you talk about workplace culture, you have management behavior, rules and policy, relationships, working conditions, and we're operating here. So one of my favorite guys that I use an awful lot in my courses, David Keirsey, a 92-year-old sociologist, has a diagnostic test for employees like the Myers-Briggs. He starts with a basic premise that all of your employees are different in fundamental ways. And when you try to change those ways, you don't get transformation, you get scars. His credo, I love it. If I don't want what you want, try not to tell me that my want is wrong. Or if my emotion is less than yours or more, try not to ask me to feel more strongly or weakly. And the punchline, I don't for the moment ask that you understand me. That will come only when you're willing to give up changing me into a copy of you. That's a powerful thing to have on your desk when you're going into one of those trust conversations. Before we go forward, I'm going to try this. I have a document here that goes to your paradigms. I want you to count the number of F's on the page. Got the directions? And so that everybody has an equal opportunity to count these F's, just turn them over as you get it so that we can all count them at the same time. If any of you have done this activity before, please recluse yourself. So what is the direction here?
Count the number of F's.
Count the number of F's where?
On the paper.
On the paper that you're getting. I'm going to give you 10 seconds to do this, which goes to paradigm building. Are we ready to start counting? They should be all turned over. Everybody have one? Don't count them yet. Everybody has to start in the same place. I'm an ESTJ. Are we ready? Begin. 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 1. 1. Turn them back over. Everybody turn them back over. How many F's did you see?
4.
How many did you see? 4. And you?
4.
And you?
4.
And you?
4. I thought I saw 5.
You thought you saw 5. Okay, that's good. And you?
4.
And you?
4.
4. 4. I circled the money count.
5.
You saw 5. Usually we get more diversity than that. How many did you see? 4. Okay. Did anybody feel a little stress? Why? Was I micromanaging your time counting? Oh, leave them turned over. So you were feeling a little stressed. All right. This time I will ask that you turn them back over and I will quietly count 10 seconds. Count them again just to make sure, without looking at anybody else's. All right, turn them back over. Now, I'd like to introduce some cold, hard cash to this conversation. I'll just start with a $10 bill. How many did you see?
7.
You saw 7. How many did you see?
4.
And you?
4.
And you?
4.
5.
4. 4.
4. 4. Still 4. 4.
5?
4. 4.
4?
4.
I saw as many as it would take to get that 10.
All right. Now we're all intelligent people here. Ho. Don't. We're all intelligent people here. Would someone who, you saw 7? Mm-hmm. Is there anybody going to bet $10 that he has the right count? You're not sure, are you? Sharon, you told me these were a bright group. Now,
They're cautious, though.
if I was to tell you that only 7% of the people get the right solution to this challenge, you would be right to know that. But I want to do this backwards. So would one of the volunteers who had 4 F's like to point out to their associates the 4 that they saw? Who? You're a Girl Scout. Come on, you could do that. Just point the 4 F's you saw.
I circled them, just count the F's, that's the first one, then F in feature, F in films, F in scientific.
How many is that?
4.
Who had 5 F's? You see 5. So what F do you see that she didn't?
Second line of years.
Of.
Oh, and I see another one.
Oh. The ofs are popping right before your eyes. So how many are there?
7.
Does everybody see 7 F's?
He gets the 10.
he gets the 10. Now, why do I do that? Because I do a PowerPoint slide about paradigms, and it doesn't register in people's sweet spot until you give them a paradigm. You have a visual way to read. Most people read from top left to bottom right. If you were a proofreader, you would get 7 because they read from bottom right to top left, except we don't have proofreaders anymore because we have technology. So you get locked into what you see as a leader, and you're not open to the views of other people. Now, if you had sat in groups of 2 or 3, the study suggests that 40% of the groups would see 7 Fs, 2 or more in a group. So my point to you today, even if I don't get through all the slides, which is a distinct possibility, until you are open to the ideas of your best people around you, your level of trust will always be under stress, because people want to believe that you hired them to contribute to a right decision. And as long as you see 4 Fs, and you're happy with the 4 that you see, and they're on that paper, and you're not open to the little person in your organization screaming, there are 3 little ofs that you missed, you're not going to get that kind of robust, open conversation in the organization that you operate. So think of it as a trust account. Each of us has a trust account. These actions increase or decrease the level of trust your employees have with you, what we call emotional trust accounts. When you set clear expectations, when you're kind, and I have to say that I had a hard conversation where I was wrong a couple of weeks ago with one of Sharon's employees, and I'm apologizing to that employee in front of everybody because I was operating in my box. And if I had asked a few questions out of my box, I would have understood a system that is designed for me. Keep promises, do what you say you will do, apologize. We don't have a lot of that today. Listening to understand, one of Covey's 7 habits of highly effective people. We have workshops on listening skills. Accept or own responsibility, share knowledge, and show respect. If you want to decrease your emotional trust accounts, you see what on the other side of that slide can happen. So behavior matters. People need a motto? No, they need a model. What you do has much greater impact in anything you say. We live in a world of incongruence where people say this and they do that and they think no one's watching. Now, to the end of listening, show me that you understand from the speaker's frame of reference. So how do we do that? You could say something to me and I could say, now if I understood what you just said, so you get that communication connection. When we see the word communicate, I certainly see it as an undergraduate instructor in marketing. What word comes to your mind when you hear the word communication? What verb attaches in your mind to communication? Speaking. The literature says the intent of good communication is to listen to understand. And Covey's right on it. From the speaker's frame of reference, it builds such trust when you show your employees you understand what they're saying. The listener briefly states in his or her own words what the speaker's communicated. So if you said this, this is what I heard you say, or this is what I understood you to mean, or this is what I think I can do about that, whether you're talking about internal or external customers. Reflective starters, you think as you see it, you feel, sounds like you're saying you, and here is a feeling word. Half of you in this room today are thinkers, not feelers. So being aware in that EQ area, Being aware, listen for cues. People who think will tell you what they think about things. People who feel will tell you what they feel about things. When you're in a conversation with a feeler, they're not interested in your thoughts. They're interested in your feelings, and vice versa. So we take shortcuts in life, and we don't think anyone's looking. Everyone notices. Friends, spouses, children. I cannot promise my grandchildren we're going to the beach today and not go to the beach. It could be raining cats and dogs when they come to visit Mimi, and I'm just a throw-in. When do we go to the beach? And they stand there in the pouring rain and they don't care. You say we're going to the beach and you don't take them to the beach, and they'll remember that for a lifetime. So what's the question? At what price do you sell your integrity? Since we brought up the word, let's look at a moment on how integrity builds trust. Really, the alignment of your words and your actions. A person's single-mindedness, and I like the definition, doing right things when no one's watching. You want to build trust in a workplace, you can't get a positive vote every time you do something and say it was my idea. Even though I'll take credit today for the DOL workforce team that I hired, and they're doing so well. I'm so proud of them. Integrity. I have a lot of my undergraduates who say we don't have time for integrity. They are tarnished at an early age. So here's the literature on integrity. The quality most needed to succeed in business. Now, I'll grant you, it's late 90s, and you could say, well, maybe things have changed in the last 15 years. There it is. So, it's not determined by your circumstances. You are responsible for your choices. Covey's second habit of highly effective people, stay in your circles of influence. What you say, what you do, and what you think. It's not based on your credentials, because some of the most trusted people in your organizations are on the lower pay scales. And it isn't the same as your reputation. That's what others think you're supposed to be. Character is what you are. You take care of your character, your reputation will take care of itself. So it's not what we do so much as who we are, and who we are determines what we do. And you don't need credentials. 2 minutes? Oh boy. It builds trust. It facilitates high standards. It builds reputations for you and your organization. It builds credibility. Lewis had it right. For those with high egos, humility is not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less. And Maya Angelou, who just passed away this past fall, I've used this slide for about 20 years. I just realized it was hers. People won't remember what you said, and they won't remember what you did. They will, however, always remember how you made them feel. And I'm probably down inside of 1 minute, and you've been an attentive audience. I say thank you. You don't have to say thank you, but since Jim got a standing ovation, I'll just have a little applause. And I'll take some questions from the audience if you have them. Remember, be careful when you count your F's. When you're so sure that what you know is what you know, that's probably a good time to get a second opinion. And how does it make people, when they're asked for their opinion, feel? Better. And what does it do for your level of trust? Because you have to show trust before they give it to you. Any questions? No questions? Okay. It was very nice to meet you all. Best wishes for the next session.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.